We're going to get through this and we're going to have an amazing conversation, but I'm also blessed to be here with a group of amazing creatives and entrepreneurs. I want to ask each of you all, if you can, to start by maybe within a minute or so telling us a little bit about who you are and what your business is, and then we'll get into the conversation.
So, cool. Hi, my name is Erika Lewis. Thank you very much for having me. I am one of the co-founders.
Yo! Hey, if you're back there and you're making too much noise, please chill out. We're trying to have a good conversation and go see Backyard in about 45 minutes.
Or come up here and sit down and listen to what we got to say.
Okay, Go ahead, Erika.
Thank you, thanks. So my name's Erika Lewis. I am one of the co-founders of Grits and Biscuits, which does not serve food, but it is a party. It's a Southern hip hop party that myself and two friends started 9 years ago in Brooklyn. So we were all three Southerners living in New York, and we had this idea and we made it happen. Now we are all over the country. We do about 2 to 3 shows a month. We're in 18 different cities. And for all of us, it's still our side hustle. So we all have full-time gigs, doing other things. My partners are on the stage now doing DJ sets, but that doesn't mean leave the panel, stick with us. And my full-time job is I'm at Live Nation, so I work on the brand partnership side of Live Nation.
Thank you, Erika.
All right, my name is Lavert Phillips. I'm the division director for Republic National in Washington, D.C. We run the Pernod Ricard business, so we bring you the alcohol. Our main responsibility is to touch every end user. So any restaurant, nightclub, bar, grocery store, liquor store, that's one of my customers, and I've been in the business for 18 years. I've worked for a couple of companies that you may be familiar with. Our brands are Jameson, Absolute, Martell, Perrier Jouet Champagne, GH Mum Champagne, Beefeater, Altos, Avion, and it goes on and on. But my primary responsibility is to make sure that the DMV is filled with libations. So,
Thank you, brother.
Hi, I'm Yumi Yamsuan. I'm the owner and founder of Lost in the Sauce. We're a catering company and Filipino and Japanese restaurant based in Chinatown, New York.
How's everybody doing? Uncle Scooty, Washington, D.C. native, co-founder of Rockery Social Club, co-owner of Premium Co. menswear line, co-owner of Diet Starts Monday, co-owner of Sandlot, co-producer of Broccoli City Fest, and a host of other stuff.
Beautiful. So, beautiful. Thank you all for being here, and thank you for everybody being in the audience. So I want to start by, at some level, each of you all have built your businesses around a culture of food and comfort food and black culture. I want to understand a little bit about how you all started your businesses and how you all have gotten to this point. Erika?
Yeah. So, again, Grits and Biscuits isn't really rooted in food, but yes. I will tell you how we came up with the name Grits and Biscuits. So Alzo Slade, who is one of my partners, we were having a conversation. He had a friend that had, who had sent, this is how long ago, sent him a CD of Southern hip hop songs that we didn't hear in New York, and he let me borrow it. And when we were talking afterwards, I was saying, it'd be cool to have a party where it was all Southern music, because you don't hear these tracks, and at the time you didn't hear them in New York. I think now you do a lot more. And I was like, this is just a friendly conversation. I was like, but if we're gonna have a party that's about Southern hip hop, it has to have a name that when you hear it, you know it's about the South. And we're all from the South. It's me, Alzo, and his brother Maurice. We're all from the South. We all went to HBCUs. And immediately, Alzo said, we should call it Grits. And I was like, that's brilliant. Everyone knows what it is. And then his second comment was, but every good party has 2 names, Kiss and Grind, Jump and Funk. So we need a second name. So we'll call it Biscuits and Grits. And I was like, I don't like that. And then we went back and forth. And then finally I was like, well, if we switch the order, And he was like, cool, we'll switch the order. And so that's where Grits and Biscuits came from.
And you all have built that into almost a movement in itself. I mean, to have Jay-Z and Beyonce come to one of your events, you know, speaks to the viral nature of what you're doing. So obviously, you know, you guys have been amazingly successful. We'd love to hear from the rest of the panel about kind of how you all have built your own brands and businesses.
So I think one of the more important things to recognize is I'm not an entrepreneur. However, I find one of my biggest responsibilities is to reach out and help black businesses make it. And what's funny about almost everyone on the stage is from Scooty and Grits and Biscuits is when you come to an event, the one thing you want to do is 9 times out of 10, you want to have something to drink. So what I do is I look at opportunities to touch and give back to the black community, and we make it real simple. From Broccoli City Festival, from this event that we're here at today, the Midnite BBQ. When people come to us with opportunities, I try to make a way to make it easy for black businesses to move forward. So if Scooty reaches out and he's like, hey Vert, we got an event going on, can you do anything to support us? My first move isn't, okay, how is it gonna benefit? It's how can we help? So I'm a little bit different from most people that are here, all my other co-panelists, but I find it's just as important for me to reach out and help give back, because there's not many black people in this business that I'm in. This is a predominantly white-run business. I'm one of the few ranking black people in what we do. And I find it as my duty to help these folks when they're moving through. And we've helped, you probably don't even know, we've helped as you've done events, and we help restaurants and entrepreneurs do what they do. So when Scooty and Ian came to us for Sandlot, we stepped up, we sponsored it. When the Midnite BBQ and Lamine came to us, it wasn't a question, are we gonna do it? It's how can we do it? So for me, it's just building up the community and helping our people out, so.
Beautiful. And I know Yumi and obviously Scooty, you all have built businesses and brands in some ways around a culture of food. Take us through a little bit how you all did that and sort of what the advice is for other folks who want to build their own brands and businesses.
Yeah. Well, I opened up like my first restaurant like 2 weeks ago, so it's like still really new for me.
Congratulations.
I mean, but like before that, like I was working like a really regular 9 to 5, like you know, going to the office and like writing emails, and it was just like not how I wanted to live my life. And like, so like every office has like office catering, and like our catering would always be like sandwiches or like pasta, and like, you know, the food would be really dry and like not seasoned. It just like tasted like really bad, and I was like, these people don't even know how to season their food. Like, that's crazy that there's like a business, they're like a food place and they don't even have how to like cook stuff. And I was like, oh, I can cook like way better. Like my dad's Filipino, my mom's Japanese, and I'm born and raised in Tokyo. So I grew up like, you know, with my parents always cooking, and I was always really like inspired by like their hustle and like their ability to feed me and my sister like really good food. So I was like, oh, like I know how to like, you know, write emails and like pitch businesses like, oh, you should hire me to cater like your lunch. So then it just kind of started off with like me creating like a, you know, like a, at that time it was like a fake company, you know, I wasn't like really real. It was just me in my kitchen. I was like, oh, okay, like you should hire me. And then like people started to hire me, and yeah, and like a year later I have a restaurant. So yeah, it's cool.
That's dope. Congratulations. For me, I think that, you know, it all started for me with Rockery Social Club. Getting into the food side of things was one of our staple events, which is Grilled Cheese Social. And I think the thought behind that was, well, the thought behind Rockery Social Club is really meeting people at the core and the foundation of who we are and what it is that we like to do. People like to party, people like to drink, and people like to eat. And until we started Grilled Cheese Social, and I'm going to stamp it, and if anybody wants to debate me on this, there weren't any other events that were combining food and parties all at the same time. So anything that you ever seen, Mac and Cheese Social, and I saw some PB&J thing that's happening in Cleveland now. But this is an event that we started from the ground up, just being very, very close and in touch with the people and being able to provide them a service that nobody else was able to provide. And grilled cheese sandwiches is just one of my favorite things. It's something that is really easy. And usually when people drink, they think about something that's heavy, bread, something that's super, super quick. And a lot of what we're doing right now at Midnite Barbecue actually are the roots of where Grilled Cheese Social started from, because Chef Tobias, who actually has the Victory, I want to say cafe, because I just don't know what to really call it. He was the first chef to work at Grilled Cheese Social when we started 6 or 7 years ago, I think like 6 years ago. And with that thought in mind, when I started to start other companies, those same ideas and those same concepts kind of bled into or segued into Diet Starts Monday. Diet Starts Monday has nothing to do with food or health. It is a clothing line first about procrastination, people that have the potential to do great things that don't do it for one reason or another or no reason at all. And through Grilled Cheese Social, I was able to open up the door for an opportunity to have a standalone space for me to start a store. But just with the experience that I had with Rock Creek Social Club, I said a store to start my clothing line just wouldn't be enough. It needed to be a hybrid space. It needed to embody some of those same concepts that we had with Rock Creek and with Grilled Cheese Social. So we opened up a retail restaurant bar on 14th and U Street that was originally slated to be a pop-up for 3 months, and we ended up staying open for 19 months. And when I talked about Chef Tobias and how he helped to kind of like to introduce that concept when it started, Lavert, who is sitting up here right now on this panel, when years passed and we got ready to start this brick and mortar, which is Diet Starts Monday, or which was Diet Starts Monday, Lavert was one of the first people that came to the table to actually not sponsor, but actually partner in the space. Pernod, and I think I can say the numbers now, so Pernod actually partnered up and gave about $80,000 to that particular project for me to take a space on 14th and U, which is like one of the most saturated corridors in DC, to be able to renovate this space and build something that was so beautiful that people felt like it should not have stayed open for 3 months, but 19 months was what we were able to do, and we continue to go on with that brand. But with that, just opened up another door to Sandlot Southwest. I mean, I know I talk a lot because like everybody, like I know Lavert, I know Steve, like we have history like with Grits and Biscuits, because Mo is like my boy. And actually, this is my first time seeing you, but I saw you 3 years ago in New York at, I can't even think of where it was.
Scooty, this is like the third time I've moderated a panel with you, man, and you.
I know, this shit is crazy.
I gotta watch you, man.
But all in all,
throw the flag on you, man.
I know. But all in all, like really, it's just about building things from the ground up, being extremely in touch with the people, being extremely organic with your approach, being genuine in what it is that you're trying to do, and always make sure that it's about community. And the community will always lead you in the direction that you need to go. And when we talk about socializing and things like that, we always talk about partying, we talk about drinking, and we talk about eating. So it's only right for us to be able to encompass those things all under one roof, or even when we're doing parties or events that have nothing to do with food, the thought of it is still there as an inspiration for what it is that we want to do, i.e. Grits and Biscuits. So that's where I was.
I love it, and I think it's a great segue. So in some way, each of you all have taken some concept around food culture, hip-hop culture, subcultures, and use that to bridge communities and bring people together. I want to first start by asking each of you like your most pivotal food moment, right? So a dish that your mama made, a dish that your auntie made, or an amazing food experience that you had, and then also what is it that you think is so amazing about this kind of subculture that we're all experiencing that helps to bring people together in this way, and how are your brands continuing to extend that?
A dish. Okay. I guess a dish that I'm gonna say two memories. One was when I discovered real red velvet cake, because everybody can't make red velvet cake. And side story, I had a coworker once that swore her red velvet cake was amazing, and she said she was gonna make me some for my birthday, and she brought it in, and that pan sat on my desk for like weeks.
It wasn't like that.
Everybody can't make red velvet cake.
Yeah.
So that, and then my grandparents I'm from North Carolina originally. My grandparents had a huge garden in their backyard that like extended beyond like 5 houses. And that's where it was just their joy. And I remember, I'll never forget one day my grandmother, I woke up and she made this whole meal of just vegetables from her garden. And it was the most amazing meal I had ever had. And this is the 80s. Nobody was like, in the South was a vegetarian.
Right.
So I'd never had a meal that was just like fresh vegetables,
Yep.
and it was like mind-blowing. So I guess those are two things.
Beautiful. Thank you, Eric.
So, first, I like to call myself a chef. I'm not world-renowned, but
Restaurateur too.
yeah, restaurateur. So, I have this little contraption that I've come very fond of. It's called the green egg. And if you don't have one, I suggest you get one because it changes your life when you.
If you know, you know.
If you know, you know. But I went to high school in Memphis, Tennessee. My family's from Memphis, Detroit, Atlanta. So those are my 3 hubs. And going to high school in Memphis, growing up, going and visiting Memphis, we had ribs. And the one thing that I've learned around the world is a real good rib should not have sauce on it. So when you come to my house, my ribs are dry. Now you can put what you want on them, but I love ribs the right way. So if I make you a rib, it's gonna taste like it came off my egg, and it's gonna be dope, and you're gonna love it. But then, that said, my mom makes this dish. It's called Mexican cornbread, and it's like cake, but it's not. It's a cornbread with green peppers, onions, scallions, cheese, red peppers, and it's for my entire life. It's been the prized possession of Thanksgiving, and my mom makes it and she puts it out, and it goes. But she's learned over the years to make her baby one little pan that goes and gets hidden away. So Mexican cornbread is my first love. So.
I feel like I'm gonna say something controversial.
Please be provocative, yo.
We got
That's
your
why
back.
we here. Right.
Okay, my most like favorite dish ever, the thing that made me like love food is spam, eggs, and rice.
That is spam. You took it there. It's okay.
It's good. Try
Can
it.
you explain why? What's the
Spam
background
is
on the
fire.
spam?
There's no way it can be not fire. It's like, it's manufactured as fuck. It's salty. You fry it so it's super crispy, and it's like the best thing you can eat with white rice. That's it.
Beautiful.
I actually had spam for the first time at Coconut Club last week.
Yeah.
Spam also has this thing, and I don't know if it was Saturday Night Live or what it was, but it's a thing, like it's called Spamby. And I'm gonna tell you that I love Spam too, so you're not alone. But Spamby comes out the can and it's like
Kindred
a gel.
spirits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And this thing, this guy, he had arms and legs, and his name was Spamby. And there's the code said, if you ever seen it, if you know, you know Spamby. It's fun and all, it can be. So Spamby's got
Fun fact.
Yeah, fun fact.
Scooty?
Oh man, like super easy for me. I mean, I just spoke about it. Anybody in from DC?
Hey.
Anybody in here a latchkey kid? Do y'all know what that means? All right, I'll tell y'all what it means. So growing up, my dad was a single parent. So all the way from the time that I was in 3rd grade, I used to travel the district, metro, bus, rail, whatever, for me to be able to get back and forth to school. And when I would come home from school, my dad, who worked 2 jobs while I was growing up, was never home in the afternoons. So therefore, when I came home, it was my job to not only to take care of myself, but always to feed myself. And there were two things that I knew how to do. One was make eggs, and that's what I would do in the morning before I would leave. And then when I would get home after school, it was only one meal that I knew how to make on the oven that was hot, and that was a grilled cheese sandwich. So even going back to what I said earlier, just about grilled cheese social, like, and I talked about like the foundation and being like extremely organic and like reaching out to people. Like a lot of people that I know have those same experiences where, you know, we were kind of like fending for ourselves, and those were kind of one of like the easiest things for, you know what I'm saying, for me and for many of us to be able to make. I mean, some people use butter, some people use mayonnaise or Miracle Whip or whatever, and they do, you know what I'm saying, like the 2 slices of cheese. If you had money, you know what I'm saying, you went for the cheddar. For the rest of us, we was just using American cheese, you know what I'm saying, 2 slices to make it worthwhile. And that was just something that my childhood was pretty much built on, and just things that I carry over today to a entrepreneurship business right now, today.
I love it. So, a show of hands, how many folks in the audience either have their own business or are aspiring entrepreneurs?
Shout out to everybody that raised their hand.
Right. Love it. So I really want to get into it. We've been fortunate enough to start our own company, built our company with 2 other brothers I grew up with, known for 20 plus years. Now fortunate enough to employ 20 plus people in the city. And it's all around creativity and brotherhood. And we did it in the city. I want to understand from each of you, and I know Lavert, but I also want your perspective. I want to understand tangible advice on how you've built your businesses, right? So coming from an idea, right? So I know Mo Slade. I went to college with Mo Slade. Okay. I remember you all talking about grits and biscuits. I know Scooty long time. I want to understand how you all took an idea and built those into brands, and brands that are sustainable, that are hiring people, and that are viral.
So the very first grits party was just a passion project. It wasn't, we didn't set out to create a business. However, we had 500 people, majority we didn't know, show up, and as they were leaving, they were asking, where's the website? Where do we, how do we find out about the next party? We didn't even have signage. We had church fans though, because we thought that was cool. So we had church fans, but that's all we had.
That is cool.
But there was a couple things. So one, the conversation I mentioned earlier that Alzo and I had, where we came up with the name of the party, was in. Oh, hey guys, they're my guys right there. Was December of 2009. We didn't have the first grits and biscuits until July of 2010. From December of 2009 to June of 2010, we told all our friends we had this idea, and it was going to be a Southern hip-hop party. And then we told them the name, and they were like, that's brilliant. And that's all we did for like 6-7 months. And it got to the point where it was like, okay, we need to stop talking about this. So we decided, let's take 2 weeks to find a venue. If we find a venue in 2 weeks, we'll have a party. If we don't find a venue in 2 weeks, we're going to stop talking about it. We didn't have a business plan. We didn't have any of that. Again, it was a passion project, but really it was just about putting a deadline on us to make the first move. And I think oftentimes, I went to business school, and they talk to you about building your business plan and all of that. But oftentimes we get paralyzed by the business plan. And you really just need the first step. That's all. And you need to accomplish the first step. And once you accomplish the first step, the second step becomes clearer. So for us, the way that it became a reality is, one, we put a timeline on it, and we said, okay, let's actually have a party, because we found the venue. And then once all those people showed up, we sat and we had a meeting, like the day after, the week after the party, at Alzo's house over breakfast with grits, and we said, what are our values? We sat down and we literally wrote down, okay, we have something here. If we're going to be serious about it, what are our values? And some of those values were, there will never be an individual over the brand. The brand will always come first. A decision will never be made by or driven by the money. It will always be driven by the fans. And just having, like, getting on the same page, the three of us, and laying out our values made it very easy for us to kind of proceed and build the next one. And then finally, I think we just listened to our audience. Because we haven't made all the right moves, but one of the things, when we make a wrong move, we are very quick to communicate and listen to the audience and shift it. And at a certain point, we realized that we were just facilitators of a brand that now belongs to the people. And we need to serve the people the best way that we can.
That's dope.
Beautiful. Super dope. Thank you, Erika.
Super dope.
And that's what we should be doing out here, you know. So, and I mentioned before, I'm not an entrepreneur. However, I hold my name as a brand, and oftentimes I find myself in settings and people say something, and I'll come back and I'll be like, I have to live with my name for the rest of my life. So what you're doing, my name is Lavert forever. So I have to hold true to what I say, which is integrity, doing right, living right, and trying to be right. So in bringing this brand myself up, I've been in DC, LA, New York, Denver, Atlanta in this professional setting. And I saw a void way back when. I was like, man, there's not a lot of us here. So I took that same stride, and I was like, as I'm making my way through my career, I'm gonna find ways to empower people and give back and help others be successful. So when someone comes to me and they're like, oh, Lavert, we wanna make this event happen, how can you help us? The way I really can help is, one, financially, but the other way I can help is by being there, making myself available, and giving the knowledge that I have. And you know, there's lots of us that are in this business. I see Anwar sitting back there who's been down with the Martell brand and been a brand champion for brands that we represent over the years. And it's people like Anwar and people like Scooty and people like my girl sitting next to me and Maya, who had a vision to do something. And my thing is, if you wake up in the morning and do something, you're doing more than anybody else, most other people out there. So I feel like I can jump on and help them get to where they're going. And if I've got a free case or a way to sponsor you, then I'm gonna build my brand up. And it's a feel-good project. All of them are feel-good projects. I get to show up to events and watch my people excel in life and be like, I helped them out. And what do I get in return? I get to enjoy the event, I get to drink good, and I get to sit back and marvel in who's gonna be the next person with the grits and biscuits, who's gonna be the next Umaya, who's gonna be the next grilled cheese social, Sandlot, the Midnite barbecue. So it means a lot to me, and I sit here today, and I don't take this lightly because I'm not an entrepreneur. I have businesses, but my businesses that I have, they don't represent what we're doing here today. But what I do represent is a man who can do and will do whatever I can to give back to the community. So,
thank you, Lavert. Appreciate that, brother.
I feel like for me, like there's always like money out there. It's just like a matter of like figuring out who to talk to. And I feel like for me to start my business, I just realized that like the gatekeepers to like budgets and stuff like that are like mostly like white people, and like white people love a really good PowerPoint. You know, they love a good pitch deck. So I was like, I have like a phone, I could take photos of like food, and like if it's like one, I don't know, no one here like knows me like that, but I take myself like really seriously. So I'm like, I make really good food. I'm really good at my 9 to 5. That's pretty whatever. But like, I'm gonna make this like happen. So I was like, all right, so I'm gonna put together like a fire deck. I'm gonna email it to like every office manager in New York, and I'm gonna get them to hire me. And like, you know, all it really took was to like make some documents, and you know, it's chill.
Thank you, Yumi.
I think, not even I think, I know. Let me stop saying that. My belief is that when we talk about business and we talk about entrepreneurship, I always believe that education, experience, and exposure are the 3 keys to success, right? And when we originally started Rock Creek Social Club, and I always use that as the pillar because it was my most successful business that started before I started everything else. So before Sandlot, before Diet Starts Monday, whatever the case may be, everything that I'm involved in, it was always Rock Creek. And I worked a full-time job. I was a dean of students. And when we started Rock Creek Social Club, it was very much a hobby. Like, it was like, there's a void in the city, you know, there are people like me that love rock and roll, but that love hip hop, and I don't necessarily want to go to a club and be faced with a dress code, and I want to hear music that's not top 40. I want to hear music that we all know and love, but we never hear in the club. And me being the person that I am, I was always super popular, and I could always get into clubs, and I knew all the promoters, but a lot of my friends couldn't get into those spots. And that was kind of the reason why we started Rock Creek Social Club. And it was just really like, I mean, it was almost like us doing a house party, but we weren't at anybody's house. Actually, my boy Brandon Howard, who's sitting right there in the crowd, he was actually one of the first people that gave us an opportunity to be able to do events when he owned Recess Lounge on 15th Street. And it was just kind of a feel-good thing. But it was filling a void like in our heart, and really didn't realize like how much of a business it could become. But when you start a business and you say like, what did we say? We said, yo, we're gonna do this party every other week, right? And then every week that we weren't there, there'd be a line down the block of people that thought that we had a party on that day. And then Brandon and Sayo said, nah, man, I think y'all need to do this every week. And I said, damn, every week, man, that's a heavy commitment. Because I work in the school system. I was a dean of students, and I coached. So I'm like, oh, I don't know about that one. But it was just something that, like, you kind of just fall into, right? Like, God doesn't put you in, I don't know, you know what I'm saying, anybody believe in God in here, but, you know what I'm saying, God always puts you in the right place, and he points you in the right direction. And the direction was that it was something that the city needed, and we were the only ones that were able to provide it. A lot of people don't know because we're so far along, but Lamine, who is one of the partners in Midnite BBQ, started Rock Creek Social Club with us in 2010. But that one pivotal moment and that one pivotal scene was an eye-opening experience for me into business and what business could be for myself and for the people that were around me. And it went from a hobby to like established LLC, bank accounts, putting people on payroll, 1099s, you know, all these different things that you learn, you know what I'm saying, as you go along. So when I talk about education, experience, and exposure, sometimes you might not want to start a business. You might just have a passion, but that business just be calling you. And you have to do your duty, and you got to go full-fledged in. And that's kind of like what I did after, you know, 5 years of running Rock Creek Social Club as a part-time or as a hobby. You know, 5 years ago, this month, I'm a full-time entrepreneur. I literally wake up every single day and I do whatever the fuck I want to do. Whether it's a Midnite BBQ, whether it's a Sandlot, whether it's a Diet Starts Monday or whatever. I sit up here as a person that, like a blink of an eye, I can remember getting up every day and putting on clothes that I hated to wear and talking to my kids and being like, I know y'all hate these uniforms. I hate wearing this shirt and slacks and all, you know. And, you know, 5 years removed, now I'm sitting up here, everything that I have on, from my shoes to my chain, I own everything. And that's real. So I think that, you know what I'm saying, when we talk about building those businesses, sometimes, you know what I'm saying, like, you think that it's not in you, but it's in you, right? And then in order to support that, education, experience, and exposure, there's so much life and so much world around you that will be able to influence you and that will continue to elevate you if you open up your eyes and you see that, if you invest in yourself, right? The internet is right in our pockets right now. There are no borders anymore for anybody. Information is right there at the touch of our fingertips.
Yeah.
So make sure, like, if anybody in here that doesn't have a business and you didn't raise your hand when Steve asked about how many entrepreneurs that we have in the building, if you're aspiring to be an entrepreneur and you right on that cusp or you like right on that fine line, I'm living proof right now, one,
Just
and then
do
you
it.
have several other people up here that will tell you like, it is in fact possible.
Right.
It's possible.
So I appreciate that, Kevin. I mean, being out here for me, I don't know if for anybody from the city to be doing a midnight barbecue at St. Elizabeth's right now. If you grew up in Washington D.C. and you know the history of this place, it is really surreal. And so I want to talk about people of color. I have 4 amazing entrepreneurs and executives of color. I want to understand your experiences as creative geniuses, as founders, as executives, operating in those spaces. What kind of challenges have you experienced and how have you overcome those? It's up to you.
You know, hey, I'll take this one. First of all, I know we talked about who owns their own business. How many people in here went to HBCU?
Hey.
Just, all right. So,
HBCU?
yeah, we got a few. I mean, my beautiful sister here, she went to HBCU. I went to Morehouse. Scooty here. And see, so we're represented. And
Fam, goddamn you.
goddamn me, you know. All right. So the one thing that when you look at going to school, you wake up, you're like, man, where am I going to go to school? A lot of people think they're going to get a scholarship, they're going to go and they're going to play ball and all these things. For me, I got lucky and, well, I didn't get so lucky because I thought I was going to be a hooper and I thought I was going to get a basketball scholarship. And I was waiting for all these letters to come rolling in and people to recruit me to go play basketball. And it came the day for everybody like, where are you going? I didn't have anywhere on my list. So I wanted to go to Atlanta. You know, I grew up there. I was in Memphis. And I found this. I was like, man, well, you know, maybe I'll go to Georgia Tech, walk on. Maybe I'll go to Morehouse, walk on. And I filled out one application for one HBCU. It was Morehouse. And I got in. Now, from there, I was like, damn, my parents can't pay for me to go to this school. And I got down there. They figured out how to get me rolling. And I got a track scholarship. So I just ran and I jumped. That was my thing. So I took that opportunity and platformed into the next opportunity. And when you look back at what we've all done and how this culture has brought us to where we are, there's a lot of us here on this piece of land, and we all started at HBCUs. And the reason HBCUs were created was because black people didn't have a place to go be educated. And they gave us a place to call our own. And as many of them are historical now, that field is getting lost. And I look at, and even my girl, because she's half Filipino, and I love lumpia. I don't know if you know how to make lumpia, but I can. So we got to hook this up. But people of color in America have often been left with no identity, nothing to call their own. We've all migrated here from somewhere, and we don't have our own. So these HBCUs gave us home, and these amazing foods that we can create gave us home. And when I look at Grilled Cheese Social and I get to go hang out with Scooty and have something cool to eat or whatever we do, I get excited because I know that us as people of color, all of us as people of color, we can make it. We are here. You all are here. Something really cool about this little piece of land is Hinckley was put in this facility after he assassinated or tried to assassinate one of our presidents, right?
Right.
That's right? Okay. Do you guys know who Hinckley is? Okay. So this little piece of land has a lot of history, and look at it right now. I'm gonna get up from here and I'm gonna go out and have a whole bunch of food, have some cocktails, and I get to enjoy this with a whole bunch of people of color. And it's not just, what really makes this cool for me is it's not just people of color. There's white people here, there's Asian people here, and we all are here on one common ground to enjoy food, culture, and this society that we live in. So I don't really think I touched on what you asked, but I don't know. I'm just happy to be here.
Thank you much, Lavert.
I can.
Erika, school.
I'm about to say one thing before you, because I gotta introduce
You gonna say
this.
one?
Yeah, one thing, because I
Okay.
gotta introduce it. I mean, after the panel that just left off, I think that we'd be remiss without. I know minorities is an amazing thing. I'm a young African American male, and I love being myself. I love my skin. I love my people. But I think that we have to put a lot of focus on the fact that, like, there are two amazing women up on this panel.
No question.
And
No
I
doubt.
think that, like, we need to, because for so long they've been the minority of the minority.
No doubt.
And this is the year, if no other year, that we put y'all up on a pedestal and we say thank you so much
The
for
century.
doing everything
Thank you.
that you all have done and that you all will continue to do. Go ahead.
Beautiful.
Thank you. I actually was going to say to your question a couple of things. When we first started Grits and we would get interviewed for different publications, I oftentimes got asked, as the only female in the crew, how did I feel about, how people enjoyed themselves at the party or the party itself or nightlife. And to be honest, I never really felt like I was the only, like I was the female in the crew. I mean, there were definitely times where I think I gave a female perspective when we were coming up with ideas and discussing things, but it didn't really feel like it was front and center to me. But now, I'm gonna just be in full transparency, I feel like after the Me Too movement and the women's movement has kind of taken a grander stage, there's more attention, even more attention on it. Sure. And I feel it more because I often feel like the black women are being left out of some of these conversations.
Speak on
and
it.
that, to me, is, and I was just telling Alzo about a situation in my corporate job. Like, I think that we have to keep our voice out there and we have to acknowledge, like, I want all women to feel empowered and, feel good and feel happy and make moves and feel strong. But I also don't want it to be at the expense of other women. And so we have to kind of keep that in mind.
Yeah.
But to the original question, I think so that's one piece, just personally. I think for the brand itself, when we first started, I can't tell you how many venues at the end of the night they would say, wow, that was just really great. Everyone was so nice. We had no issues. Like,
Right.
They were surprised.
Right.
Right?
The urban audience. Right?
I'm sorry?
The urban audience.
Exactly.
Right?
They were surprised. And I think we've done a really good job. And, we now have a tour deal and we're in all of these venues and really just showcasing that, like, there's a lot of different types of black people. There's a lot of different types of women. Like, people have to understand that and they have to value it. And for us, we're very particular about how we market our event because we want to target, our audience. And we know that our audience isn't necessarily a radio ad audience, where it goes out to everybody. Like, we're very kind of thoughtful about that because these are the people that have built the brand, right? It's not just us, it's our audience. And so I think just the lessons along the way have just been, like, to stay true to that. Like, if you recognize who your audience is, then you do all things to serve your audience.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean your audience can't grow. That doesn't mean your audience can't change. It can't scale. But don't lose focus of who your core is. You got to think about them in the same way that you go forward, you know?
Thank you, Erika. Yumi, anything to add?
Oh, yeah. This is gonna sound fucked up, but, like, growing up, like, I was really, like, ashamed that I was, like, half Filipino. Like, growing up in Tokyo, it's like not tight that you're not fully something. And I think I always, like, grew up, like, really resenting, like, that side of myself. So, like, cooking and, like, making food really helped me come to terms, like, with my identity of being half and half and also being American. So I think, like, representation is, like, so important. It's really important for us to, like, own our own shit, be able to, like, be in a position where we can empower other people. And, like, I can't really do anything, like, working for another company. I can't really help people, like, that much or in a way that I find value or the way that I feel like is meaningful. So it was, like, really important for me to, like, start my business and, like, be in this position now where I feel like I can be, an owner and, like, really empower other people to, like, start their own businesses. And, like, last week, it was a really special thing happened. My alma mater is NYU, and, like, the NYU Filipino Club came by to support, like, my opening, and, like, it felt
Nice.
really dope that,
Beautiful.
like, all these like, cool teens like were like, oh, like what you're doing is so cool. Like, they're like, when did you graduate? And I was like, oh, let's not talk about that. And like, yeah, it was like a really special moment.
It's nice. Yumi, you haven't told us actually the name of your restaurant and where is it in New York?
It's called Lost in the Sauce, and we're in Chinatown in New York.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful.
Swag.
So I know we're sort of running short on time, and I know there are some entrepreneurs in the space. Are there any questions in the audience? I know we're getting late, but yeah, absolutely.
Seeing as you guys are what I would consider to be pillars of Black excellence, what would you guys, I'm a recent graduate, so what would you guys think is the first step I should take to find mentorship in the Black community?
Hey, that's a beautiful question. And first of all, as a Black man, you should have a mentor. I have a mentor who I still call to this very day. I'm 42 years old, and I go through things, and as I'm going through these things, I'm like, man, life can't be throwing these curveballs at me. So I call my mentor, and I'm like, yo, how can we get through this? But I think the real way you find your mentor is to find and understand what it is you want out of life and what you're trying to accomplish, and find someone that's successful in that arena or in what you're trying to do, and try to latch on, because I don't know a lot of people that are gonna turn you down if you say, hey man, I appreciate what you're doing and I just wanna be like you, or I wanna take notes from you, and I wanna get to my career where I'm trying to go, so how can you help? A lot of people are gonna take you under their wing and be happy to take that on. And you've got a lot of people, and look, I'll make sure you get my info, and I'm more than happy, but we've got 4 other, because we've got, everyone on this stage has a lot to offer. And I think as we sit down every day in these conversations, we need to be pulling and feeding from one another on how do we get better? How can we help one another? And the only way you're gonna have that is if you have a mentor and people who are there paving the way. So
Thank you, Lavert. Erika?
I would just add, I think if you have a sense of what you're trying to, I totally agree with everything that was shared. Thank you. I'm blinded over here. If you have a sense of everything that you want to do or the direction you want to go in, and you've identified people that you may want to serve, I wouldn't make the assumption they're going to be your mentor off top. But I think that you can reach out to them and be respectful of their time. And when you go in, be prepared for the conversation. I remember Oprah talked, Maya Angelou was like Oprah's second mom. And Oprah talked about how she had an opportunity to interview her. And she went up to Maya and said, or Mrs. Angelou, and said, can I meet with you? And she was like, I'm too busy.
Right.
And Oprah begged and said, can I just get 10 minutes?
Yep.
And she said, okay, I'll give you 10 miness. And she said that she had questions for her. It was a thoughtful conversation. And then Oprah said, thank you, Dr. Angelou. I appreciate the time. And Dr. Angelou looked at her watch, and it was 10 minutes on the dot.
Yep.
And she was like, who is this young lady? And I need to know more about her, because she was prepared and she respected my time. And I think I always remember that. So just think about that as you prepare to go into your conversations with whoever you're learning from.
Yeah, I mean, I'll share a story of my own. So my first real professional experience was my sophomore year in college at FAMU, having an internship for a woman named Judy Smith. Judy Smith is the woman who inspired the show Scandal. And I, by chance, had an opportunity to work for her and ended up getting offered a full-time job. And it was a 4-year whirlwind, man. Are you talking about Michael Vick and every congressman and every celebrity who had some stuff going? But what I learned from that was everybody that you meet early in your career should be relationships that you keep 20, 30 years from them. And it's about watering those seeds and continuing to have a regimen where you understand the people who are near and dear to your life and your career, and you being deliberate about staying in touch with them. I think a lot of times folks think about building a mentor and it's a one-time experience, but those should be lifelong relationships, So that's some of the advice I could personally give. I don't know if there are any other questions in the audience. All right. Oh, my man.
I guess my question really is, what was the point of taking that leap into entrepreneurship? Like, did you first say, I gotta save a certain amount of money? For a lot of people, it's very scary, you know what I mean? Just the idea of stepping into your own, but at the same time, a lot of people wanna do it. And they have ideas, they have things to offer, but it's about that transition. Like, I live in New York where the cost of living is crazy, right? So, you know, you think about, damn, I don't wanna be calling people like, yo, can I sleep on your couch? So what was that point of stepping into your own where you felt comfortable or felt assured that you were ready?
So the year that I left my job, I was still working my businesses part-time. And I took a trip to Las Vegas for trade shows. And a very, very close friend of mine, very much like a sister, she's a recording artist. She asked me to be her tour manager. She said, my tour manager's quit. You should come on tour and be my tour manager. And I said, I have no idea what a tour manager does. And I said, but I'll go home and I'll talk to my wife about it. I went home, I never talked to her about it. We ended up flying back to LA and having dinner with that same person. And she asked my wife if I had asked her about being a tour manager. And she said, no, never asked, you never mentioned that at all. And I said, we'll talk about it when I get home. So when I got home, she said, why didn't you bring that up? With everything that you're doing, like this would it would open up the floodgates for you, opportunities, time, all these different things. And I said, if I was ever to leave my job, I would never go work for somebody else. I would only go work for myself. And she looked at me and said, well, why don't you go do that? And I was like, well, dang. You know what I'm saying? For me, it was about the support system, you know what I'm saying, at home. And it's different things for different people.
Yeah.
But for me, it was about the support system at home and somebody saying, like, I see the potential in you. I'm the person closest to you. If you fall, I know you can get up, but if you can't, I got your back.
Yeah.
And that was spring break. I went back to the school and I had my contract there, and they said, I really need you to sign this contract. And I was happy to look at them and say, like, I respectfully decline.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, what school are you going to? I was like, well, I'm not going to any school. I'm just getting ready to work for myself. And they're like, nigga, doing what?
Right.
Like, what you
Yeah,
mean?
that's a powerful moment.
And
Yeah.
you know, so for me, it was a support system at home. It's something that's always been in me, but that was like when I was at the ledge and I had been at the ledge and I walked away, and I walked back to the ledge. It was that person that was at home that just was like, nigga, get your ass over there, and pushed me over. So that for me, that was the moment, having that support system at home.
Beautiful. Any more questions in the audience? Okay, so I want to close, first of all, by thanking each of our panelists. I'll ask you all, if you can, in maybe 30 seconds to a minute, kind of give us a sense of what's next on the horizon. You all have these amazing brands that you all have built or that you are helping to build. Tell us about kind of what you're excited about next and kind of what the next chapter of your businesses are.
I think with Grits, we're continuing to tour. We have aspirations to do more of some of the things that we've been doing, like events like this and festivals. There's also international aspirations that we've been talking about for years. So, yeah, we'll see.
Beautiful.
You know, I'm really excited to see what the next opportunity for me to help the next black business get moving in the right direction is. I actually get high off of helping my people. So if you have an idea, I don't turn anybody down. I look at all opportunities as a good opportunity. And I'm just really, really pumped up to see what's gonna come next and how I can be a person to help move the culture forward. And sitting here next to my girl, I'm excited to see what her Olympia tastes like. So I'm gonna come to New York and check her out and see what she got shaking.
Beautiful. Thank you, Lavert.
Yeah, for me, growing into my new space, it's so new. I'm really excited to, make the best of, this year that we have in our spot, and, just make really good food and like hang out with my friends there and just, I don't know, just have a good time. Like making food is about like being with friends and, friends that are family and actual family. So I'm just excited to create that space.
Great. Thank you, Yumi. Scooty?
I think for me, it's just, I don't really know. You know what I mean? Like, I have things going on right now, but like the sky's the limit. One thing that I mentioned is like being able to wake up every day and do anything cool. So like, even sitting up on this panel, it's like, it's an inspiration to be like, well, if Mo's my boy and we on this panel, like, how come we haven't done anything with Grits and Biscuits? So like, sky's just really just the limit. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just extremely blessed with life, with health, and with an amazing network of people, a lot of which are on the stage right now, to be able to do anything. So I look forward to that, whatever it is. So I look forward to anything and everything.
I love it. Can you all help me thank our panelists for the evening? And my panelists, can we thank our beautiful audience who stuck around with us just before
Thank you
back
guys for hanging out.
Beautiful. You all have a good evening. Be safe, and we'll see you soon. Peace.
God bless. Good night.